Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel, and as you see from the thumbnail, today we are looking at the DriftGames Supra. Now it's looking likely looking likely that we are going to be re-engineering this car for the 2026 season. It's looking very likely actually, since it's right behind me. There is some stuff we'll go over. I want to give you an in-depth technical review of the car, which is my favorite video to do. We'll get into the nitty-gritty of what's here. Now, regarding some of the stuff, I don't know what the internals are of it. I will know, I suppose, but not right now. But let's take a look and see what makes this thing tick. A modern A90 Supra drift car. Not something that maybe people have seen the underneath of the inner workings of. So yeah, let's take a quick look, and we'll start. Most of the time we start with the 2JZ. Now the 2JZ, unfortunately my light here has shit itself, and hopefully this comes out nice. So the Supra, I don't know if this is normal, but the bonnet only opens this much on these struts, which is, like, seriously really bad. Like, it's not even past my head. So give me 1 second and I will break off the struts and put a rod there. Right, much better. Sometimes it's the simple ideas of all the engineering we're going to be doing on this. I think we will make a bonnet rod and get rid of the gas struts or whatever. It's not much good if you have to keep knocking them off to work on the car. Right, starting here we have the 2JZ running a Turbo Systems turbo. These are actually really good turbos. I rate them for sure. We come across all sorts of turbos on our travels, and I have to say these things have been quite impressive on the dyno, so I have nothing bad to say about them. For the money and everything, they seem to be a good job. You'll get that on my channel. If it works, it fucking works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. There's no point in keeping a brand loyalty. I don't, it's great to like some brands and they do the job and other brands do the job and blah blah blah. But if it's good, it's good. If it works, it works. I don't care who you're associated with or who's sponsoring you. It doesn't matter. They're a good turbo. They work well. It's got a Garrett core intercooler, quite a big one. Nice job as well. I do believe there was some issues here with well splitting and stuff. So I wonder if we need to increase the thickness of what's going on here. But overall, efficiency-wise and everything, that looks like a really good cooler. Now, what else have we got? 3.5-inch downpipe by the looks of it. All aluminium pipe work. The throttle body is kicked upwards here. And nice little double O-ring clamps. You've got 2 power steering pumps. You've got a main and a secondary, we'll say. They actually are plumbed in line, so they run the whole time together. It's not a spare or anything. They are running together the whole time. The theory here being keeping the pressure in the system for the E92 steering rack that's in this car. Sometimes with, especially the modern stuff, you need to keep more pressure in the system and not have a pressure drop under demand. And an inline double pumps works well, but the downside being you have 100 amps there straight away of draw on your alternator, which is down here. So it is a DC power alternator. Good job, very high ampage, very expensive, about 800 euros, I think, 700 or 800 euros for an alternator. And they seem to be just as reliable or unreliable as any alternator, so it's quite common to have them to go and shit themselves, as any alternator does. It's just one of those parts on any car, especially a race car that is just under pressure, constantly spinning a massive RPM, being heat soaked all the time. It just is something that does fail from time to time. There's nothing you can do about it. Same goes for a power steering pump. You know, they work away. Some people get months and months, if not years, out of them. Other people get 20 minutes out of them. It's just kind of potluckish. So moving forward, we are going to remove this alternator. It's not even belonged to this car. So it was put on in an emergency because of a failure, and it's going to get a new Group D alternator kit, which actually mounts on the cold side, underneath the intake manifold, which it'll go in here, which there is nothing in there right now. And so far, we have had no failures of our alternator kit mounting it on the cold side, so moving it away from the heat and stopping it being cycled by the heat cycle by the exhaust side seems to be helping. And we actually have both Shanahans on our alternator kit for the entire Drift Masters 25 season with no failures and no issues. So really pleased with that. It's just another product that we've had issues with and we've fixed, and that is our job. If it doesn't exist, we have to come up with it, and it has to be A1, has to work every time. So another great thing, it's on groupd.ie website if you want to see our alternator kit for the cold side mounting on a JZ. Must be a wet sump JZ, not a dry sump JZ, unless your dry sump pump is over this side, but it's designed for a wet sump car. Right, moving on, we have this filter here across the front, which one thing, I'm not a big fan of the foamy filters anyway. I prefer my kind of K&N style cotton gauze, we'll say. I hate filters in this position, be it personal preference or be it because of other reasons which I prefer or whatever. I just hate filters in this position. It doesn't allow me to see the alternator belt, it doesn't allow me to see the timing cover, the bottom pulley, with things that I like to keep an eye on. It is mounted behind the cooler, which you've got cold air here, you've got warm air here. That's the point of an intercooler. So it's getting naturally warmer air than it could mount it elsewhere. I just never liked it. It's common in the BMW world. You move it here because you have the kidney grill situation, which is a lovely spot for taking in cold air, but it just doesn't translate over to Toyota world or whatever you want to call it. Just, I mean, every car besides BMW almost. For me, and moving forward, I will be moving the air filter out that side. So that's just basically things you can see. It's got the R8 coils, the VAG coils. It's got this intake PPF. Never heard of that one. I don't know. Looks okay. Looks fine. Supra. It's got a chase base. Master cylinder there, and please God, let there be brakes in this. Seen many a car delete the factory system and install something like this and the brakes be very poor, so we'll only find that out whenever I get a chance to drive the car. Hopefully there is big Willwoods in there somewhere, I think. Yes, so 6-piston Willwoods. We've got some chance of having good brakes. So I will only get to take a look at this situation when we get the car moving. So what else is there? There's a catch can system up here, which everything is good on this car. You know, we can talk about the downside of a Supra being semi-aluminium, semi-steel. All this is aluminium. The chassis legs are aluminium. The whole subframe, which we'll have a look at underneath, is aluminium. There's another one against the wall there, which kind of, it's easy to put two and two together, why there's spare aluminium subframes. But all in all, it's a really good package. Now, one thing we'll be doing, and if you watched the DriftGames video recently on this, is we will be moving the engine forward on this car. We plan to make adjustable engine mounts, which we'll make available for sale on the Group D website. doing for the Supra, the 2JZ. But we will make the engine further forward to change the balance of the car, change the nose weight percentage, and change the center of mass, basically. So we'll move this mass forward, being the heaviest thing, and we'll try and get the pivot point of this car a little bit more natural, that more people would be used to. That is, I think, the downside of a sports car, whatever you want to call it, a coupe sports car kind of thing, like a Corvette or whatever. It just doesn't pivot the same as what we would be used to of a front-engined rear-wheel drive coupe. Does that make sense? I hope it makes sense. But yeah, let's move on a little bit and show you guys some more details on this thing. Right, so moving to the rear, you can see the extent of the HGK body kit. So it really has like inner structure to it that you wouldn't normally be used to. There is no bumper bars as such in these cars. It's kind of Kevlar assemblies that mount the bumpers. Kevlar is really good. It bounces back into shape nicely, but that's kind of the rear. It does, however, take up an awful lot of your space. So, you know, the area that you have to work with here isn't massive. So I believe this car from throughout its year has gotten some stuff changed. So I think it got a unit put in here, a CFC unit or whatever you want to call it. It's an anti-surge unit into the fuel cell. I don't know why, to be honest, but I believe it was done and changed. That's why the wiring is a little bit messy and kind of, yeah, just a bit messy. I believe that was done at some point. We will have to get all this tip-top and lovely. That's why this is sitting here. I don't really know originally where the filler went. Obviously, you know, that's not ideal for filling, but I believe it was changed at some point. That's why it is like this. Here you have a breather for the diff. So that hose here will be going down to the quick change, and it is just going to atmosphere here out of the top and here as well. There is a fuel filter there in the rear. There is none in the front, so it just has filtration at this point, and from the filter forward to the engine and back is filter free then. Cowling is beautiful job. HGK again, carbon cowling, big fans, probably 16-inch maybe fans, 2 of them. I'm told that the car runs perfect temperature all the time, so that's great. In here you have the radiator and beautiful carbon firewall, and you have a expansion tank for the rad over on this side. There is another, that's the vent here for the fuel cell, so going there. This vent attachment here will have a ball valve in it, so if the car flips, the ball goes up with gravity and shuts off the fuel, so you don't need any sort of a one-way valve on them. It's built into the unit. What else have we got in here? Here you can see the Kevlar detail and the bar that runs around the back. There is a solid bar to the bumper mount. I don't actually have the bumper. And the bar that is the actual frame of the car, and drop down here. Just goes around, nothing there. And there's a jacking point on the underside. So yeah, not that much going on in here. There's another bottle here for something, which I don't know at the moment. Not that much going on in here, but as I said, the opening and everything, you know, if you had to change a rad, God forbid, for some reason, it's going to be a bit of an ordeal. But it is really nicely, the carbon and the Kevlar work is really nice on these. Really well done. That is mainly, you know, what sets the HGK cars apart is the carbon and the Kevlar work. Is just is excellent, really well done, and gives them this great finish, to be honest. That's pretty much all is in the rear. Fuel cell, radiator, and the firewall, etc. So we'll be doing a bit of re-engineering here, I'd imagine. Just tidy things up, make brackets for stuff, make it a bit more reliable than the way, not that it's unreliable, but you know, just preempting anything going wrong. So we'll make sure everything is fastened every X amount of inches, just so that it's absolutely bomb-proof rather than unreliable, is what I'm getting at. So yeah, let's move on, take a look at the inside. Right, so here's the interior. Apologies for the just flashlight lit situation, but such is life at the moment. You can see the pedal box going on here, or just kind of very regular looking pedals. I think a couple of these might be Supra, I'm not sure. This accelerator pedal isn't. I think it's out of a Nissan Micra or something, but that's something that upon sitting in the car and pressing the pedal, I'm not happy with. There isn't a lot of throw in the accelerator pedal, therefore, you know, you don't have the modulation to play with the pedal that I'd like. When you have a really short throw, it becomes a very small distance to on boost, off boost, and then another very small distance to 200 more horsepower, etc. It can make it quite difficult to control the car and be nice and progressive. You would be surprised how much this is overlooked on vehicles that you know, press this. Is it 100% throttle outside? Yes, it is. Okay, our job is done, but it's not. This needs to be progressive. You need to have good control. You can't have too much throw, as your heel comes off the floor plate and it becomes uncomfortable, and you find yourself in a position where your foot doesn't go back over nicely because you're too much movement. Things like that. You know, when you talk about engineering a car or the ergonomics of it, these things make a huge difference, but not many people spot them. Now on some V8s, I would put a lot of throw, so bollocks. Right, tip number 2, I'm pretty sure you can guess what happened there. So quickly to wrap it up, as I said, on some V8s I would put a lot of pedal throw, because you can have a huge range of torque and no turbo lag, obviously, and it can be quite difficult to get off the line and kind of progress in the first couple of gears in those cars. So I give them quite a lot of throw, and you can modulate the throttle at that low RPM range better and try and control the torque better. Doesn't always work out perfectly, of course, depends on the tire and all that, but just gives you an insight into, you know, things you wouldn't think about, that most people don't think about, that makes a huge difference when you actually get to driving the car. Right, obviously all the Link goodness. This is a Link sponsored car, so it's full of Link goodness, Link Dash, Link ECU, blah blah blah. As I said, the Link obviously works fine. You know, this whole you must use this, you must use that is just a load of bollocks, really. You don't see cars stopping. People get sponsored, people get discounts, and they become very brand aggressive or whatever, and it's just okay, whatever. This car has no anti-lag. It has no massive demand for electronic gizmos, therefore it's very easy for lots and lots of ECUs to run it. Now this car had anti-lag on that point, and it was removed. I'll talk about that in a minute when I'm underneath. Right, so is that an IRP? It is. Handbrake, you've got the Samsonite sequential, very close together there. Of course, back to HGK-ness again, HGK dash. It all is really nice carbon work, and there is some spares lying in the passenger side. See the inside doors, inside of the door here with Laurie Heinlein sticker. You know, this carbon work is class. That's the appeal of the HGK car for me. Other than that, pretty simple in here. I was surprised by sitting into it how bad the visibility is. It took me really back to my Saturn Sky days of like I mentioned a minute ago, sitting on the back wheel in your sports car, if you know what I mean. Your roadster, yes, that's the word I'm looking for. Your roadster, you know, you're sitting on the back wheel, the engine is back, so it's kind of like a front mid engine, and all of a sudden you drive it and you're like, I don't like this to drive. This is not fun. As a drift car, as a circuit car, it would be very good. Right, I'm gonna go underneath before the second torch goes. Right, so here is the underside of the A90 Supra. So as you can see, Wisefab, this is very BMW, obviously, as it is a BMW. E90 rack. It's got a front anti-roll bar. This will be a cell home unit, I believe. And set to full stiff there now. Which, let's just, you know, right now, let's just say the suspension is all over the place in this car. We'll probably go into it. We definitely will go into it deeper once we change things. But this car went, I think it went down a direction. I'm pretty sure I know what was going on. It went down a direction and it just went so far in that direction that there was kind of no way back, and it just needs a full reset basically. I kind of touched on it a little bit on the DriftGames video. You can see the aluminium subframe, which is wonderful. Wonderful, but so easy to tweak. So this is twisted here from a impact on the wheel. Just so easy to tweak, especially when you've got 19mm steel, 19mm thick steel arms onto an aluminium one. There is the replacement one here. This is us experimenting with other BMW models, trying to find a steel one. This is a failure. We haven't given up totally, but it's looking dodgy. Looks like we probably have to go with the genuine aluminium, which means you need spares and they're expensive. So yeah, you can see another talking point is this weight. So you have just a solid steel weight along the front of the car. They are trying to increase the nose weight here, but it was very much a visual thing because Peter Viensek is doing it. We should do it. It wasn't based in a theory from a crew chief or anything. It was just kind of that he seems to be doing well. Let's do that too, which is fine, which is how things go and can give you progress. But it wasn't based on any massive testing or tuning work that it was seen as the solution. We'll see what happens with this in the future when we get our hands totally re-engineering it. BC 3-ways on this, which are coming off for BC 1-ways for the initial testing period in 2026 when we will be testing this car with the DriftGames boys. I'll be going to 1-ways. Basically, I want to develop a language with the driver, and I'm going to start very simply and straightforwardly, rather than getting into complexities of 3-ways. And I don't think Dave, who is the driver, he's not going to turn around and say to me, I need to loosen it up on the entry, give me 2 clicks of high speed on the rear or front or whatever. You know, that's not going to happen. We need to walk before we can run. So I'm going to bring it back to basics, develop a language with the driver that we can both understand easily and go from there. I would eventually like to end up on multi-way adjustable suspension, but with a new customer, new program, new whatever, I will always start with the basics first. Here's the engine as it sits. So as I said to you, we will be moving it forward. This is kind of what we have to play with without subframe modification. I don't want to modify the subframe, and we will play it by ear, see how it goes. You've got the water line underneath here running forward to the thermostat housing. I don't know if I can see that. There is a standard water pump on this, which is rare. I haven't seen a pro car with a standard water pump in a long time, given that there is the Davies Craig electric pump in here, dangling away in the back here. So normally everybody, when they put this in, delete the mechanical water pump. Now the impeller might be removed on the mechanical water pump. I will find that out when we get involved in this situation. So if that's removed, then it makes perfect sense. If not, the impeller would aerate the water big time, as the engine runs at very high RPM demand, much higher than the impeller would have been accounted for by Toyota in the original Supra, if you know what I mean. It would have been a very lower RPM range that they would have designed it for. So we will get to the bottom of that when the time comes. Apologies, I knocked off the camera. Yeah, so having that, it has the original thermostat housing, which I don't know if there's a thermostat in there or not, which we need to get to the bottom of. And then this pipe, it goes onto the back of that thermostat housing in there, if you can see it maybe. And we need to see what's going on there. You have your external wastegate and your screamer pipe here. Your boost control is actually mounted to the subframe. That's the boost control here, which is mounted to the subframe there, which is not really what I like to do. I would have it fairly prominent in the engine bay. Given an issue, it's really easy to change rather than down here in the heat and all that. The boost control in this car is interesting. As I said, it had anti-lag, and so it had anti-lag, and the driver couldn't get the car off the line with having too much power, we'll say, or too much boost at idle. This is where, you know, having a crew chief comes into play that is responsible for the whole vehicle, not just one area of the vehicle, or having people responsible for areas of the vehicle. So the car couldn't get off the line, and basically it probably can't because it's been set up so stiff. So you're just going to get wheel spin. Then the anti-lag was removed to help the car get off the line. And the boost control was set in a way that could be a little bit on the laggy side, and I know the driver said the car is laggy. So that's just an example of, okay, it can't get off the line, so we'll take off the anti-lag. Now we've introduced lag, but the car couldn't get off the line because of the suspension, not because of the anti-lag. So it's where a crew chief needs to be responsible for the whole thing, and everything in a race car is a compromise. You cannot do one thing without affecting other things. So that for me wasn't, you know, the correct decision there. I hate laggy cars, so you need to give the driver, and most people are going to hate laggy cars, so you need to give the driver as much help as you can there. Producing 900 horsepower or whatever it is does not come without lag. So for me, removing the anti-lag, it might have improved getting off the line, but the car was never going to be great at getting off the line with the suspension the way it was. Simple as that. Samsonite, obviously there is the slip yoke, strange unit, 1000 horsepower slip yoke. It has a aluminium bell housing with a carbon shield. Yeah, which is, as per the rules, if you use an aluminium bell housing, you must use a carbon shield. I prefer to use a steel bell housing just to eliminate the carbon shield in the removal process of the gearbox. You'd be surprised how many times you would remove a gearbox and the bell housing in the course of a season, or you should remove a gearbox and a bell housing in the course of a season. Of course, with these race car gearboxes, we remove the gearbox here and we leave the bell housing on. We pull the gearbox with the input shaft still connected. And to get at the clutch, which is this unit here, which is a really fancy looking unit, which is actually coming out now, and it's getting an extreme twin plate. To remove the clutch, you need to take off the bell housing then separately, as you the gearbox already removed. Heading back, it's got the DMI Bulldog differential. It's got the Wisefab shafts. The Wisefab shafts come with a sticker on them, as you can see. and that's kind of your line. So you can see this side is low, this side is high. So this shaft has twist from being kicked the crap out of all year. So that'll keep an eye on how much your shafts have twisted throughout the year. I don't know personally actually how far they go before they snap. I will recommend these being replaced anyway for new items, and keep these as the spare items. That is the best way to do things. Again, you have your Wisefab, your 3-way BCs, and your anti-roll bar, which on this last driving of the car has been disconnected. So to disconnect the bar, you remove a link, is the easiest thing to do, and the bar just connected to one side goes ups and downs with the other side and doesn't affect the other side. You know what I mean? Titanium exhaust, which is cool, nice and light, but needs some bit of love after the year. There's mountings, and this is all beat to date. We'll probably make a spare exhaust for this, because it's something that you often don't think about, is the exhaust being flattened or destroyed or out over a curb or something. And if you have a spare one in the truck, you just bolt it on rather than taking off and hammering and doing the bollocks all day, mending stuff instead of replacing stuff. And you can mend it at any time afterwards when the pressure isn't on. That is the key to running a good program, having spares and being able to replace rather than mend. Save you the world of time. In this game, you get no practice time at the track, literally no practice time. Pretty much, look, you get a few runs, whatever, you get a few runs, as does everyone else, but you get nothing compared to what you might be used to in motorsport. Therefore, any downtime must be minimized, and you can't be mending shit. You got to replace shit. It's as simple as that. People learn the hard way. You spend a lot of money touring Europe and getting no laps. So yeah, this subframe is actually cracked. I don't know if they have a weak point, but it has cracks in it. Ah, there it is. So it's cracked there at the corner. That must be where it twists. So there's a new one coming. So many things having to be replaced after a year. People don't understand how much stuff you have to replace in this game and how expensive it actually is. We need to make all sorts of mountings and fixtures for lines and stuff. There's stuff hanging around all over the place in this car that is just liable to cause a problem. They're the things that, you know, when you have a 150, 200 grand race car and it stops because a line isn't fastened, they're the embarrassing ones that you need to prevent. But yeah, that'll do, I think. That gives you an idea of how these things work. Right, that's it guys for a look at the modern Drift Supra. They're pretty much all the same, so once you've seen one, they all follow the same recipe. Nothing really too creative or different from any of them. Maybe the Papadakis car would be the only one that might be slightly different compared to the very much copy and paste nature of all the rest of them you see drifting throughout the world. 2JZ, sequential, quick change, Wisefab, done, you know. So stay with us on the journey with this one. That's the technical overview of how it works and what's in it, and we will be doing videos of the rebuild as we look to prepare this thing for the 2026 season. I'll go through all the changes we made, all the upgrades, updates, blah blah blah. We'll follow it as it comes together, and I know the DriftGames boys will follow it too. My videos very much focus on the pure technicalities, and they go for the wider audience. So we should have it very well covered between the two of us. So yeah, thanks for watching, and we'll be back with this one soon, I hope. And we'll see you next time. Please like and subscribe, guys, and let's try and grow the channel. And if we get enough subscribers, we'll try and take you on a bit of a journey next year, 2026. So thanks again, and see you guys next time.